Phil, it's nearly a year since you invested in Southport Football Club. It's probably been a roller coaster, some ups and downs. How have you found it so far?
Interesting, a learning curve, more downs than ups. In the first 12 months, but that was to be expected. It's a massive job. For me, the football club needed CPR. It needed a really big shake, tipping upside down, and massive change. And with change to the level that the football club required, and still requires to a degree, you will get people that embrace that, and you'll get people that fight against it, and that's a completely natural reaction. Not everybody will be on board, and you just hope that over time you can get everybody on board as things progress positively.
Last time I was in this room, it was a very different room. It's changed, and the main stand's changed, and it's been a busy summer for the club in terms of changes. There's been changes both from a structure and personnel point of view, but also in terms of ground developments. With change brings plenty of challenge, and your thoughts on the summer so far?
Yeah, like I said before, the club, we've got to run the club like a business, and my philosophy and Ian's philosophy is that you have to get your infrastructure right, you have to get your procedures and policies correct, and football is different in a way to running a business, insofar as there's a lot of perception, there's a lot of anomalies that don't apply to running a business. And the perception of this football club, without wanting to dwell on the past, amongst players, managers, the football family, if you like, has not been hugely positive for lots of reasons. We've got a reputation in recent seasons of going through managers, players, not looking after people, and what we want to do and what we wanted to do is create a better perception of the club, get policies and procedures in place, and set standards. I think that's the key. We've got to set standards in every area of this football club, because those standards filter through every single part of it, and so it's really, really important that we set those standards and that people are on board with them. Because I have lots and lots of sayings, but one that is very, very true in my opinion is, if you do what you've always done, you'll get what you've always got. And we've got to do things differently at this football club than have been done to get to where we want to get the club to. And perception is a massive part of it, and like I say, structure. The ground development is a big part of that. A lot of people, I've seen people comment and say, it doesn't matter how the ground looks, it doesn't matter what goes on within the football club, it's all about results on the pitch. I agree with that to a degree, but results on the pitch only get you to a certain point. And recent history dictates in the last 2 decades that we've bounced between the division that we're currently in and the division above. And barring 1 or 2 occasions when we've got promoted from the level that we're currently at, we've gone on to struggle. And if you don't have the right structure in place and the right facilities in place, you'll go up and you'll struggle. And we don't want to do that. What we want to do is get the club in a position whereby we are viewed by the wider football family and players and supporters out there in a better light, in a more professional light. And we want to become a club that people want to come to, not just to visit, to watch a football match, but to come to on non-match days. But we also want potential players and staff to view the football club in that way, and that is all about the infrastructure, the setup, the stadium, the facilities, the approach, the professionalism. That's what it's all about.
12 months ago you were looking inwards into a football club from outside. Now you look at it from an inside outwards. What's your perception? How's your perception changed of Southport Football Club, the football industry, football, and also being involved in a football club and being a director of football?
Yeah, it's definitely more challenging than I expected it to be. I've learnt a hell of a lot of things. What I would say is that from the perspective of Southport Football Club and what we want as a board and what I want is, it's time to put the past where it should be, and that's in the past. History is history, and history can be looked upon, and we can look upon all the success that the club's had in the past and the trophies that they've won and league titles and the Football League, but the past is the past. There's been far too much over the last 12 months talking about what's happened and what's gone on and whether it should have. And the reality is that, you know, the past needs to stay exactly where it is, and that's in the past. And one thing that I would say is, you know, anybody that is prepared to invest money into a football club with the real chance of having zero return and put their time and effort into wanting to run a football club has my absolute utmost respect, and they've earned that, and that includes Charlie, Sam, James Treadwell, Adrian Shandley. You know, they have my utmost respect for having the guts to put their money where their mouths were and to try and do something positive for the football club. But what I would like to do is draw a line under the past. It's about Southport Football Club today and moving forward from here on in, and that's what we all need to embrace.
And one of the things that we've talked about so often as a football club is ONEPORT and working together and bringing unity. Now is the time, isn't it, that we really need to get together, bring the football club together and try and move forward as one and face the challenges that we face.
Yeah, absolutely. You will not find a football chairman, a football owner, a football manager, a sporting director that's not made a mistake. We've made mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. No football club will ever announce a new manager or a new appointment as their second, third or fourth choice. It's never going to happen. There are a lot of things that happen at football clubs that you can't make public, that you can't discuss with fans, that you can't tell people about, that have a significant effect with what goes on. And that's within the infrastructure of the football club, but also on the playing side of things. From a playing perspective, you know, we've got ring binders, A4 ring binders full of scouting reports on players that we've watched over the last 12 months, players that we've been looking for. We lost out on 3 or 4 players in the summer who have all gone on to play for clubs in the Football League or in the division above, and that was unfortunate. You can watch a player 10 times and they can be fantastic, and then you can sign that player and they can come into a different environment with different personalities and different people and be a different player. And there's nothing you can do about that. You cannot foresee that, you cannot expect it. All you can do is be as diligent as you can in your scouting and your decision making and hope that that player is the same player when they come to your football club. And they aren't always. So, you know, sometimes the players have got things going on in their personal lives and that affects the performances. And so football's not as simple as running a business. So you are going to get things wrong. I am going to get things wrong. I have got things wrong. The important thing is to learn from it. But if every football club got every signing right, and if every player performed consistently throughout their career in the way that they performed when you watched them 6 times, we'd all win the league. And that's not football. And we just have to accept that it's a big job, and it's a job that's going to take a number of seasons before we get to where we all want to get to.
You talk about the playing side. Stability, I think one of the things we've said over and over again is key. We look at Chorley, top of the league, I think 3 managers in 11 years, yeah. and getting that stability to Southport Football Club. We're the absolute polar opposite. As a football club, I think it's 11 or 12 managers in just over 5 years. How do we go about engendering that stability?
Stability is everything. You've given a fantastic example, and Chorley is a football club when it comes to on the field that we should look up to, because for the last three or four seasons they've brought in no more than 3 or 4 players. They've had a succession of managers, not a lot of managers, but they've been promoted from within, and look at them now, 7 in 7, top of the league, and it's a stable club, and that's the key. I've seen people talking about our manager and the position and our coach. We've got a fantastic first team coach in John McCarthy, we've got a fantastic manager in Liam Watson, and absolutely, it's not even a question for me. They will be here for a minimum of the next 2 years unless they choose not to be, regardless of what happens, because this football club needs stability. It hasn't had stability for too long. Liam and John know what they're doing, they know what they want, and it's going to take the whole of this season and next summer before we've got a squad that they're happy with and that they want and have put their stamp on. And that's the way it is. So nobody needs to ask myself or the board any questions about the manager or the first team coach. They're not going anywhere, it's just not on the agenda, and we need to bring stability to this football club.
In terms of engendering stability, then that's at board level and from a structure from the top in terms of leadership. Yeah. How does that work in terms of the leadership structure that you have from a sort of playing side and in terms of the football club?
On the playing side of things, so we have the manager's decision is final. So we've gone full time. So we've got full time physio, we've got full time sports scientist and fitness coach, manager and coach full time, and we also have what you would probably call a club agent. So we have Neil Sang, who's been working with the football club for almost a year now. Neil's an intermediary. He's got 25 years experience as an intermediary, and Neil's role is probably, you'd call it an unofficial sporting director. Other clubs would call it a club agent, and Neil's role is to assist Liam in negotiations, in looking for players, and dealing with the administrative side of things as well. They've both got fantastic contact books, which is excellent for the football club, and they work brilliantly well together. It works really, really well. The final decision is the manager's. Neil may recommend players, or he may go and look at players, or have some of our scouts look at players, but those decisions rest with Liam. It's completely his final decision. The board don't interfere with that at all, other than to approve budgets.
Perhaps we've not had the start we liked, but as a football club, one of the key things will be patience, won't it? Patience in terms of building a football club. We've looked at the likes of Fylde, it took them 4 or 5 seasons.
Yeah.
Likes of Harrogate took 7 or 8 years to get out of this division. It's a tough league, it shouldn't be underestimated, but patience is key in terms of the manager building his squad and building the team that he wants.
Yeah, patience is everything. So if you were to ask me at the start of the season, both myself and the manager said that we had a squad that was capable of winning the league. I stand firm on that. We need to make some improvements in the squad. Football, you need to have things go in your favour. You need to have a lot of luck. We've been unlucky with injuries to key players. We've got some players who we've signed that haven't played for us yet. We've had suspensions. I'm not going to use the word unlucky, because stupidity isn't luck. But we've had issues with some suspensions. We've had issues with injuries. We've had 1 or 2 other issues with players that we can't discuss publicly, that have caused issues and probably affected the performances. And I'd like to say that the vast majority of that is now being dealt with. You've got Zach Corbett, who was injured playing against Widnes in a pre-season friendly. He won't play this season. He's seeing a specialist next week, but we've been told that it's a serious injury, and again, you can't provide for that. In my opinion, there are 4 or 5 teams that are in the top 7 at the moment who have had that good fortune and that luck. I'm not convinced that they'll all be there come the end of the season. I believe that we've got every chance of being up there come the end of the season. We've had a tough start. We've had things not go for us. Barring the Chorley game, we've been in every game and competed, in my opinion. The games that I haven't been able to attend, I've watched back more than once. I'll use Alfreton as an example. We score the penalty, we go on and win the game. Ashton United were 2-0 down, we fight back to 2-2. There's only one team in it. There are bodies being thrown in front of the ball all over the place. We've hit the woodwork. We just need a little bit of luck, and we'll go on a run and we'll be up there. We'll develop the squad over the season. Liam has a target that he's set himself, that the board are completely on board with, to develop the squad over the season, so that we're in a position whereby in the summer we're not bringing in more than 3 or 4 players, and we have a season to gel. Patience is the key. The target this season is to do better than last season. Last season we finished 15th in the league, and we were knocked out at the first stage of every cup we entered. So for me, would I like to get promoted? Absolutely. Do I think we could? Absolutely. What would I be happy with? Progress. Finishing higher in the league than 15th and making some progress in the cups that we were knocked out of at the first stage every time last season. And we have to be patient, and we have to make progress every season. And if promotion comes along, of course we all want it. We all want to win every single football game. But I'm not concerned.
Talks about progress. Looking at the stadium, there's something where we can all see tangible progress. There's a lot of work's gone on in the summer, both within the bar facility, now the 1881 suite, and outside in terms of the development work that's gone on. You must be very proud and pleased with that, but could you talk to supporters about the work that's been done so far?
Yeah, the plans changed, and that's something that is a constant in football. Your plans always change for different reasons. The plan was to completely refurbish the main stand inside and out. It's been publicised, but there were issues when the initial works were done and we were taking things apart, lots of problems came to light. There were issues with the drains, they'd collapsed, they weren't fit for purpose. There was asbestos in the roof that had to be removed, and that took several weeks. There was no fireproofing in this stand whatsoever. It didn't meet any regulations, and that was a big job. So it's now got 60-minute fireproofing throughout, which was a huge job. And so we ultimately had to pare back, mainly for time scales, secondly for cost. The cost of the refurb, initially the budget was £500,000. Ultimately, once the work had been done to uncover all of the issues and lots of other problems were discovered, the budget for the full refurbishment of this main stand went to just under 1.8 million. Now that's a lot of money for anybody, and so what we had to do was we had to do the things that we felt were important for the infrastructure of the football club, and the comfort of our supporters, and to be able to develop some of the off-field stuff. So the boardroom's been done, the main bar, the corporate area, all of the seating, the roof, the asbestos has been removed, the fireproofing's been installed. So there's been a massive amount of improvements. We've ultimately gone over budget, so the spend was hoped to be in the region of about 650,000. Where we will end up by the time we've finished with the snagging. There are still some things to finish off, some little bits and pieces, things like the steps, the entrances into the two bars need finishing off, and so on. It will be just over 800,000 for this first phase. Some things have had to fall by the wayside. The toilets were all supposed to be refurbished, they haven't been. We are currently in the process of getting quotes for the toilets inside the ground and the supporters' toilets outside the ground as well, and we're looking to do those in stages over the course of this season. And there are lots more things that need doing. The development of the ground will probably end up being a 6-phase development, so there's more work to be done on the main stand in the closed season. We will be doing the work to the pitch, which is not an insignificant cost. It's just under £200,000. The pitch should have 16 drains in it, it's got 4. So that needs doing. It'll be levelled, returfed, new drainage put in, full drainage all the way down to the brook at Meals Cop, because at the moment the drainage is some plastic pipes that take the water and dump them in a field, which isn't ideal. Sprinkler system, we're hoping to take out the away end and bring it closer to the pitch and put in a covered seated stand for away supporters, which will give us some parking behind there. I would like to bring the jack car closer to the pitch and widen it, and provide some toilet facilities and catering facilities for fans underneath that.
So in terms of priorities, supporters would expect the next sort of job, finish this phase of the main stand, and then secondly, look at the toilets, and then thirdly, you're thinking it will be the next summer the pitch and the away end?
Yes.
The key areas?
Yeah, absolutely, they're the key areas, and then we'll continue with the rest of the ground. It will depend on what we uncover every time we dig something up. We're hoping that will take 3 years. It could take as long as 5, but we're determined to finish it and complete the refurbishment.
The scale of the ground development task is quite sizable. I mean, other than a redevelopment in 1992-93 for the ground in order to meet Football League regulations, the ground hasn't really had a lot of investment in over a period of time. I suppose as a football club, what you're finding is as you begin to invest and dig things up, bigger issues come up, and that's all about laying the infrastructure and the foundations, which I suppose in many senses is a mantra for how the football club needs to move forward.
No, absolutely. Everything that we're doing, we're trying to do properly, and in the right way. We would love, it would be fantastic if we could say we can redevelop the whole ground and it'll cost 2 million, we'll do it over the next 2 seasons. It's not as simple as that, so we have to do it properly, we have to do it in stages, and again, we have to set standards. We don't want to do things and do them half-heartedly, we don't want to do them cheaply, we don't want to do them and have to do them again in 2 years. What we want to do is make sure that everything that we do with the football club, it gives us longevity, it's quality, and people will hopefully see that and they'll want to come here and enjoy the facilities. Everything that we're doing has got to be done properly, no sticking plasters.
You talked about no sticking plasters, doing things properly, talking about the club's finances. It all costs money, and supporters often ask, great developments, but how are we paying for it, and how's all that money being generated and developed?
Yeah, well, at the moment, that's coming from myself and Ian. So, as at today, between the two of us, we've invested just over 1.25 million in cash, and that is by way of share purchases, so no loans. So the club isn't encumbered with any debt. And by the end of next month, that will have risen to 1.6 million. And looking at what we want to do between now and the end of the season, we will have invested 2 million in cash, and again, that will be either in the main, it will be through share sponsorships, so that money's in the club, and some of it will be by way of general sponsorship as well, and it comes as income to the club. So it's not cheap. We don't expect to see a return on our investment. We'd love to, but that's not football. And you know, we're doing it because we want to, and because we see the potential of this football club.
And as you talk about investment, obviously most businesses go through a phase of investment. We then start to talk about how do we generate returns on that investment, because obviously the investment needs to go in order to start generating income into the football club. Absolutely.
I mean, this club has operated on a turnover of no more than £1 million a year, between sort of 650 and £1 million a year. This year our turnover will be 1.65 million. That will be what it will cost to run this football club, with the playing budget, with the full-time staff, with all of the things that we've done. We will generate around £1 million of that revenue through the general run of the football club, and the balance will be funded by the board of directors. We have lots and lots of plans for the use of the facilities. We've got a lot of things that are going on with the community side of things. We are currently looking at a site to develop our own training facilities, and that will also have community facilities that will generate revenue. We've brought the academy into the football club from the start of next season. That will have a college attached to it, so we'll have be running a college with a third party. That will generate revenue into the football club. Hopefully, subject to the soil samples coming back positively, we'll be working with the council on the training facility, and that will have 3G pitches that we'll be able to hire out to the public. That will generate revenue. So there are lots of things that we're doing with the football club. The plan is that the club will break even based on that budget within 3 years. So we have to generate an additional £200,000 worth of income this season, next season, the season after, and the season after to get to that break even position. Until that time, the board will subsidise the football club. And the reason that we want to get to the break-even position is so that the money that we then put into the football club is purely on infrastructure, purely on the playing budget, the playing squad, and developing what we do on the pitch. And it means that the club isn't reliant on us to get from A to B on that basis.
And obviously you've brought a lot of staff, and there's been a lot of personnel changes within the football club as you embark upon the task of redeveloping the football club, both commercially, community-wise, football-wise, in terms of bringing the professionalism and the full-time down. That's brought about a lot of change and a lot of investment in that side.
Yeah, as I said, the club needed CPR. Our ambition is to get this club back into the Football League. We haven't put a time scale on that. We're not going to put a time scale on that. We need to become a Football League club before we get to the Football League. You have to have the facilities, the infrastructure, the standards, the philosophy. Everything needs to be in place, otherwise it's a very short-lived ambition as far as we're concerned. So it's really important that we don't put a time scale on that. If it comes sooner than we expect, will we take it? Absolutely. Will it be harder to sustain it? Undoubtedly. So patience again comes into it, and this is our first year as a full-time football club. It's going to take the entirety of this season for us to get as many things right as possible. We will continue to make mistakes, we'll continue to learn from them, and we'll continue to develop. I believe it will take us 2 full seasons to be in a position from an infrastructure perspective and an attitude and philosophy perspective to be able to really push on as a football club. And I've got to be patient, Ian's got to be patient, Natalie, all of the staff have got to be patient, but most of all we need the supporters to be patient, because overnight success is short-lived success. I'm not going to, but I can give a number of examples of football clubs that have been at our level that have gone into the Football League and now no longer exist, and we don't want that to happen. So it will be measured, it will be sensible, but we will be ambitious. We are an ambitious football club. It will take time for the football world and the outside world to recognise that we are an ambitious football club.
If you could give one message to current supporters, past supporters, prospective supporters in the town, the community, what would it be?
Stick with us. Come and get involved. Come and see what's going on. Be patient. Be supportive. And be part of what we're trying to do. We understand that we're making big changes. We're not going out of our way to purposefully upset people, but these changes need to happen. We know that some people will embrace them. We know that some people will not embrace them. And all that we can ask is that people try and understand that what we're doing is for the good of the football club and for the success of the football club, and that will come. And we will deliver what we've been talking about, and to be on board with it and to support it.
A couple of questions from supporters. Yeah. One of them was about disabled supporters and disabled facilities. Obviously we introduced a new stand last year. What are the plans in terms of disabled facilities?
We're working quite closely. Natalie's probably better qualified to comment on this, but we're working very closely with the local disabled charity, and we're taking advice from them in relation to the facilities and the toilet facilities. We will continue to improve our disabled facilities. All of the new structures that we build will have additional disabled facilities. All of our facilities will be geared around disabled access. As soon as we've created some space at the stadium for further parking, we'll have designated disabled parking spaces outside the stadium. We'll be able to move some traffic off the streets, and that's one of the reasons we want to do it. And it's important for us that we create a safe environment for our disabled supporters, and that we can accommodate all of them in the ground, both home and away.
Can you elaborate on your plans for a training ground and possible centre of sporting excellence? Can you tell us a little bit more about your vision and dream there?
Yeah, the two separate things at the moment. So we need our own training facilities. We're a full-time club. We've gone from training 4 hours a week to 15 to 20 hours a week. And for that you need the right facilities. We want to continue to attract better players, and having those facilities massively help with that. We've identified, with the help of the council, who have been fantastic, we identified 14 potential sites in Sefton. It's a fairly well-known fact that Sefton should have 13 full-size floodlit 3G pitches and has none, and the council wants to work with us to assist on that basis. We have identified one particular site which is big enough for us to have 4 full-size pitches, training facilities. We'd be able to base our academy there, first team training, and obviously it would be available for public use. We're having soil samples done next week. If they come back positively, then we will look to have a formal agreement with the council to either purchase the land or lease it from them, and then start the development. We have some Football Foundation funding available. The council also have some Football Foundation available, and they've agreed to gift us that funding subject to certain conditions to assist us with the development, and we would look to be getting that moving fairly quickly. On the Sporting Centre of Excellence, that relates to the area at the back of the stadium on Meals Cop. We've had exploratory discussions with the council and the college and the school. That is the most favourable land that the council would like to develop for the community and for facilities. Soil samples were done by the club previously, and we updated them last season, and the issue at the moment is the area closest to the ground is peat-based soil, and what that means in layman's terms is that a full-size 3G pitch costs around £600,000 to construct. If it's soil-based, peat-based soil underneath, that adds about another 1.2 million to each pitch, because you have to remove it and then refill it, and that's a very expensive task. The plan will be to firstly hopefully get our own site sorted. We will then look at working with the council, the school and the college to get further samples of the whole site, which is extensive, and providing there is sufficient area that has the right base, we would then look at a longer term plan to see whether or not that entire area, right the way down to the B&Q, could be developed into a sporting centre of excellence with a sports centre, running tracks, swimming pool, cricket ground, football grounds, everything for the benefit of the whole community and the town, but the school, the college, etc. That is very, very far ahead in the distance. but it is something that the council are really keen to work on us with. That would take tens of millions of pounds worth of investment, and what we want to do first of all is concentrate on getting our own training facility with community use, and then look at that in the future.
Some people call it popular, some people call it poplar, but what are the plans for that side of the ground? People who stand there in the winter often find it's very windy out there, and sometimes the atmosphere drifts out there. So
Yeah.
are there any plans for that side of the ground?
Yeah, absolutely. What we want to do is the pitch and the away end and finish the main stand over the course of the next 12 months, hopefully, or with a fair wind and some luck. And then we will then be looking at the popular side and the Jack Carr side, and we want to bring all those three sides of the ground much closer to the pitch, for two reasons. It becomes more of a football ground, it creates a better atmosphere, but it also creates space around the perimeter of the stadium for parking, for further supporter facilities, for further community facilities, for parking and so on. So I would say that the popular side is probably phase 3 or 4 of the 6 phases, with us finishing with the Jack Carr. And that will, the intention is that will be a covered all-seater stand with corporate facilities and fans facilities at the back of it, and car parking, and that's that was on our public plans, and that remains.
And the final question, we're sat in the refurbished main stand. What are the plans for the club's development of this area in terms of income generation, things like wedding ceremonies, celebrations when the refurbishments are fully complete?
Yeah, absolutely. Over the course of the next couple of weeks, we will be launching our plans for the refurbished facilities, and we have an events manager, and we'll be looking to host events, birthdays, functions, parties, Christmas parties and so on, community events. We are looking, I know some people have asked about the room hire piece, and we want to embrace the local community, so we're going to look at that again, and see whether or not we've made a mistake on that one, and if we have, we'll hold our hands up and we'll look at it. We need to use these facilities 7 days a week, so we want to encourage people to come and use them and to book them for events and functions and so on. We'll be holding all of our events and functions in our own facilities moving forward, and we want the community to come and use them. You'll have probably seen in the last couple of days we've announced one of our first football community foundation initiatives, which launches today, and we're hoping to have regular meetings in these facilities every day of every week moving forward. Everything takes time. It's difficult. We've tried to cram a lot of things into 3 months over the summer, and it's been impossible to cram everything in we wanted to. So we've got a lot of work to do over the next 12 months, but we're committed to doing that, and we're committed to working with the community and embracing the community and making the best use of these facilities.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure.